my name's Ian Masser. I'm a partner at Beale Co solicitors. I work predominantly in the construction disputes team, but I'm also responsible for the firm's trainee recruitment. If you were to ask parents or grandparents why I might be attracted to a career in law, they might have said at the time that I always like to have the last say and always never stop talking. But to be perfectly honest with you, there was no sort of real sort of burning desire to do it as a kid. I think I sort of followed a path where I actually wanted to be, probably like most children, I wanted to play rugby or football, or then I wanted to be a rock star. Surprise, surprise, they didn't work out. So here I am. But I think, yeah, it just law interested me as a subject at sort of undergraduate level at university, and then I kind of just stuck with it, I guess. It's everything, basically, because the way we look to recruit our trainees is we deliberately take a much smaller intake, say, than our competitors. The idea being is that we are looking to keep every single person that we take on at trainee level. And the whole sort of thesis behind that is looking to grow the firm via organic growth. So it's massively important. And as I was saying at the start, there's a huge number of us who have gone all the way through at Beale Co. So they've started as trainees years ago, went to associate, went to senior associate, went to partner, went into sort of the equity. So there's a large number of people who do that. So it's massively important for us. So at trainee level, all the trainees get assigned a partner who supervises them. That's fairly normal, I think, in most sort of law firms. I then will sort of oversee the whole sort of process behind it. But there are regular with the trainees every month. We sit down and talk about sort of what they're getting out of the training contract. I sort of have a phrase with them that it's their training contract, not mine. So I very much encourage them to take ownership of it, and I want them to be telling me what they would like to get out of the training contract rather than me dictating to them what they've got to do. So they have complete sort of freedom to say where they'd like to go for the next seat. And that sort of process then sort of carries through once they qualify with sort of regular appraisal sort of meetings. I think the key thing is it comes back to what I said before, is that we as a group of partners want people to come through. We want them to succeed. That's a massive part of our sort of business plan and looking to sort of grow the firm moving forward. So there's just that infrastructure in place to help people succeed. I think what I see from the training recruitment side of what I do now at Beale is everybody who comes through has pretty amazing academics, all A's and B's, 2 1s first. So I think, and also the other thing as well is they've all done work experience. The CVs are littered with examples of going in and doing summer placements at various sort of law firms or at in-house legal practices. So what I would say to people is it's trying to make yourself stand out on the application. We are genuinely interested in trying to find out about you, what makes the individual tick as a person, what sort of drives them. So all of those sort of things are massively important around the academics and the work experience, but it's really just trying to make themselves stand out on the application form. And also understanding, I suppose, if they are applying to us, what we're about as a firm. So it's the obvious things, but doing your research on the firm, understanding our practice areas. Like myself, I'm not expecting people to turn up and say, ever since I've been 4 years old, I've wanted to be a construction lawyer. It's understanding what we do and showing a genuine interest in it. That's a really good question, actually. It's one of the things, again, we try to drill into our trainees from an early age, because I think all trainees turn up thinking first and foremost that the job is about being a good lawyer. And of course, again, stating the obvious, being sort of technically solid on the law, that's what clients come to you for. They need to know and have trust and confidence that you know the law. But what I always try to get our trainees thinking about is and the example I always use is you can be the best lawyer technically, but if you have no clients, it's almost a bit of a, well, so what? Because there's nobody who you're helping. So you try to get into them, the idea in their head very early about the sort of the business development side of the job, and sort of growing a network so that as they sort of progress, and this comes back to the question before around career progression, because business development, growing a network is a massive part of it. So we try to get them early on thinking about that, but it's sort of technically solid, and then you start to think about the business development, and then as you get more senior, it's the thinking about actually you're also running a business, and so it's having that sort of strong sort of business acumen as well. So I think that's probably how the skill set changes, because you start thinking just around the absolute basics of being a solid lawyer technically, starting to then think about the business development, and then on to actually sort of being a running a business as well. My area of expertise is construction disputes with a I would say a domestic focus. So I'm typically dealing with disputes that arise on sort of major infrastructure projects that end up ultimately, if they run the distance, being litigated through the Technology and Construction Court in London. Client base is design and build contractors, architects, engineers of a variety of disciplines. Sort of predominantly that's what I'd say my sort of bread and butter is, and it's defending claims that get made against those companies. Yeah, so there's the one that springs to mind, obviously abiding by confidentiality sort of provisions. It's a very sort of large, complex dispute. If I was to sort of say what it involved and where, that would probably be giving too much away, but it's hands down the most complex dispute I've dealt with, because there are so many layers and moving parts to it. Multi-party litigation, new legislation through the Building Safety Act that came in last year, which has introduced some completely new areas of law that all practitioners like myself are having to grapple with. Various sort of issues, sort of side issues going on between a number of the parties and their insurance companies. So there's just a huge amount sort of going on. Very, very challenging case, but it's been a fantastic experience to sort of work on. Got a great team involved at sort of Beale's, and fantastic clients as well. So no, it's been a challenge, and it's ongoing at the moment, but hands down the most complicated dispute I've ever had. I mean, a lot of it is dictated by who has capacity at that sort of given time, but equally, again, it all comes back to that career progression question, because if I know that there's an associate or a senior associate who has worked previously with a specific client, has done a good job, there's obviously been good sort of chemistry between the clients and that individual, then you'd want to involve them in sort of any further issues that may arise for that client, because it's a good way for them to help that individual to sort of develop their network, to sort of build relationships with the client. So, I think first and foremost it's probably driven by capacity, but there's a big element of sort of familiarity that comes into it as well. It's a really good question, and I think it's always quite hard to articulate it, because you sort of almost have to sort of be there and experience it. But it's hugely important to us. I think every firm, team, organisation always sort of will say how strong and good their culture is. But I think one thing that is a testament to what we do is the fact you've got people like myself who have never worked anywhere else. And there's a large number, as I think I said before, of people who started as trainees and have been at Beale Co all their working life, and that says to me that we're doing more right than we're doing wrong. Culture is hugely important. We spoke about it before about it's an inclusive culture. Everyone is valued. You turn up, you do the job, you're respected. And yeah, it's just, I can genuinely say I love coming to work every day, which I think to be able to say that is a really good thing. To me, it's, I've obviously had other jobs before I sort of came into sort of calling what I call my first proper job. But we've just got this really, really sort of great mix of sort of people at Beale's, which I think is our sort of unique selling point. We've got really, really good lawyers, excellent lawyers technically, but they've got this sort of lovely balance to them, where they're just, you know, they're very approachable sort of people. You can, you know, the sort of the work hard, sort of play hard sort of type. So it's more than just colleagues. I think it's genuine sort of friends. You know, we will socialise with each other at weekends. We go to each other's weddings, christenings, you know, things like that. So I just think it's genuinely is a lovely place to work, and I think that's really what sort of sets us out. Is, you know, really strong technical operators, but just very sort of down to earth, good people. This is going to sound really sort of cliched and stuff, but there's been so many. I think, you know, there are so many sort of opportunities to be involved in really exciting sort of high profile disputes. I mean, I think it's always one of the things that I think I found as I've sort of grown into the job, because I was saying before, I never really wanted to be a construction lawyer. I sort of fell into it, if I'm being honest. But I think one of the things I love about it is you can go home in the evening and, you know, you might be watching the news, and one of the projects you're working on will be on the sort of the television, or you'll read about it in the newspapers, and then, you know, obviously when it then completes, you can sort of say, oh, well, you know, I was involved in that. And you know, I think with construction as well, it's all quite tangible. You can see, you know, you can read about or see, go and visit the various developments and the projects you've been involved in. So I think nothing sort of jumps out as being a specific sort of highlight or an opportunity, but there's been so many highlights and opportunities in what's been a great 18-year career so far.